As a parent, you've seen it before. Your child claps their hands over their ears in a noisy restaurant. They might break down in the middle of the grocery store, or maybe they're refusing to wear a shirt because of an itchy tag. Some people, they'll brush this off as like just a phase, so to speak, or they'll chalk it up to just bad behavior. But what if these moments were actually clues? Clues that your child's nervous system is stuck in overdrive and they're struggling to keep up with the world that feels just really too big, and it's too loud, and it's too overwhelming. So what if understanding overstimulation from a neurological perspective was the missing piece, the key to finally helping your child thrive and not just cope? This message is for parents whose children experience sensory overload, whether they've been diagnosed with autism or ADHD, sensory processing disorders, or they're simply just showing signs of being overwhelmed by their environment. So if you've ever felt frustrated or helpless watching your child struggle, this message is definitely for you. You found a good place. In this video, we're going to go beyond the labels and surface level solutions. You're really going to understand how overstimulation is tied to the nervous system function and how a child's perfect storm of stressors can really create sensory challenges, and most importantly, how neurologically focused chiropractic care can help restore balance and regulation from the inside out. The CDC reports that up to 40% of school-age children today have at least one chronic health condition, with sensory challenges becoming increasingly common. But here's the issue. Traditional approaches focus on managing symptoms rather than addressing the underlying cause. The medical system separates these, and these challenges really into two different diagnoses: autism, ADHD, and anxiety, when in reality, they're often linked by one common factor, and that's nervous system dysregulation. So let's break this down in a few different categories. First, what is overstimulation? Overstimulation happens when the brain is bombarded with more sensory input than it can effectively process. So think of it like rush hour traffic in the nervous system. If there's too many signals, they're trying to get through at once. This causes a sort of gridlock, so to speak. And this just isn't about behavior. It's about how your child's brain and nervous system are functioning. So the second thing here is what is the role of the autonomic nervous system. Now, the autonomic nervous system being the balance between the fight or flight side of your nervous system and the resting and healing and digesting side of the nervous system. We call these two branches of the nervous system sympathetic. Again, that's fight or flight. Kiddo can get stuck on overdrive. This leads to meltdowns, sleep struggles, and emotional outbursts. And then there's this parasympathetic, that rest and digest side, again, where healing and regulation and calm happen. When a child's nervous system is out of balance due to this subluxation, subluxation being nervous system stress that gets stuck on your kid's nervous system, then they get stuck in a fight or flight mode, and that makes everyday life feel incredibly overwhelming. They don't know how to do anything appropriately. They might do some things, but they don't do all the things they need to. It just becomes very frustrating. So having a nervous system that's out of balance leads to something that we call the perfect storm. The perfect storm of stressors, what these are series and sequences of events that leads to a kid getting into that heightened state of nervous system stress and overactivation of that fight or flight side of their nervous system. So here's some key points to point out about the perfect storm that might help you gain an understanding of where your child is currently and the steps that it may have taken to get them there. So the first thing that impacts the perfect storm are prenatal stress. Think about it. High maternal stress levels impact fetal brain development and sensory regulation. Because if you're stressed during pregnancy, then there's higher levels of cortisol that gets released, and mom and baby share those hormones together. Birth trauma, C-sections, forceps, vacuum extractions, and even highly medicalized long labors create tension in the nervous system from day one, before babies even had a chance to really start thriving in this world. Then consider this: early life stressors, from issues like breastfeeding issues to tongue ties to ear infections, food intolerances, early childhood stressors. All these keep the nervous system in a heightened state of fight or flight, which leads to overstimulation. So what are some signs that your kiddo might be overstimulated? Let's talk about physical symptoms. They might have headaches, nausea, fatigue. Emotional signs could be anxiety or mood swings or irritability. You think about it with your kiddos. Again, we use that example of going to the grocery store, right? A kiddo that's overstimulated when they're at the grocery store might be set off by not getting to be able to buy the food item that they want at the store. And it could be something as simple as like a pack of gum, right? Or a box of cereal. If they don't get that one thing, then they lose it and there's a meltdown in the middle of the aisle, right? And a lot of parents will look at parents with kids like this and be like, oh my goodness, they should handle their kid, like, and pass these unfair judgments on their kids. But the truth is that kiddo's nervous system is so overstimulated. When something doesn't go the way that they want it to, it's just too much. And it's like filling up a glass of water, and that one thing, they're like really close to the brim already, and that one thing that they don't get their way, or that doesn't seem to make sense to them and they can't comprehend neurologically, is like pouring just a little bit more water in that glass, and everything spills out and spills over the edges. So we've got those emotional signs. And then we've also got behavioral indicators, which somewhat tie in really well to these emotional signs. Things like kiddos avoid social settings. Again, they have the meltdowns, they have difficulty focusing, and they're constantly seeking quiet spaces. I've got a kiddo who early on in her life, because she had some sensory overload issues, anytime we had a family party with people she knew really, really well, it was really hard for her to stay in the group and play with all the different cousins and be in the noise. And so sometimes we'd be like, where's she at? Like, where's that kiddo at? We need to find her. And we'd go and we'd find her, and she'd be in her own bedroom, or if it was at somebody else's house, in like a quiet corner where she'd found some books, and she'd just be sitting there, reading through the books kind of on her own in the corner, because being with all the people and being in that stressful environment where there's just a lot of noise and things for her to handle was too much for her. And so she'd go and she'd find her own space. That's okay, right? Kids have these different coping mechanisms, but ultimately we want them to be able to thrive in whatever environment that they're in. And so there's a lot that we can do to help support them. So how does neurologically focused chiropractic care help these kiddos out? What it lets us do is it lets us address the root cause of stress, where that stress is stuck in their nervous system. So at Renegade Chiropractic, we utilize insight scans to help pinpoint where in their nervous system these stress and subluxations are. Then we deliver very gentle and specific chiropractic adjustments, which really helps release stored tension and shift kids out of that fight or flight state and into more of a resting and relaxation mode. So it restores the balance to their nervous system and allows for improved sensory processing, better sleep, and even more emotional regulation. So when I talk to parents and they come into our office, we really want to help them understand that if their kiddo's where they're at, that's okay. Your kiddo's where they're at. It's okay. It's not where they have to stay, right? And we can help draw them out of that by utilizing what I just talked about. And when we restore that balance to the nervous system and allow for that improved sensory and emotional regulation to start occurring, then that's when you start to feel like a better parent, right? That's when you go from this parent over here who is constantly having to tell their kids, hey, do this or that. There's maybe even yelling involved, right? Like, just get your clothes on, whatever the case is, right? You go from this parent that is super frustrated and depleted because you feel like you aren't doing the best for your kids to this parent that's able to maybe still have to walk kids through things, but actually be able to get to where you need to go and do the things that you need to do because their nervous system isn't overstimulated anymore, because it has the right information and is communicating the right information. And the reason that I can speak to that so much is because I've been there. I've got a couple kiddos of my own that deal with these issues. So if you're tired of seeing your child struggle with sensory overload and really want to get to the root cause of their challenges, it's time to take action. So at Renegade Chiropractic here in Orem, we use state-of-the-art insight scanning technology to assess your child's nervous system. And then what we do is we create a customized care plan tailored to their unique needs to help them get from point B over here to point A, right? So the first step toward real lasting change is measuring how well your child's nervous system is adapting to the world around them. And the scans let us see that. Our scans are gentle, they're non-invasive, and can be done with your child sitting down literally right next to you or in your lap. And they reveal where your child's nervous system is stuck in stress mode, and most importantly, and this is the biggest thing, how we can help calm it. Because when we have information, we have something to measure, then we can make change for it. So if you want to start helping your child with this, if you want to help them stop feeling so overstimulated all the time, and you have questions, shoot us a direct message, comment in the comment section below, go to our website, send us a contact form. Like, we will be there for you, because there's nothing more like a kid. There's nothing more amazing than a kiddo that is actually able to experience the world without being overwhelmed by it. So let us know how we can help.